I realize you watching this video probably discovered me around 2021, 22, 23, and you've grown up. You either work in a job or you're trying to find one, you have a girlfriend or you're looking for one, but you're a full-grown adult. So tell me, what are you struggling with the most? Where do you need help in your life? Because I want to make content that supports you. Not even 20 hours and 1,900 comments, I realize more than ever the dire need for support that you guys need. I want you to learn from my mistakes, so I'm going to be dropping immense value in this video, so let's get into it. So the way this video is going to go is I went through the comments from that video and I screenshotted those which really stood out, those which are most broadly relatable and a lot of you guys can obviously benefit from. And the first one we're going to start with here is dopamine addiction from scrolling on social media. It affects my sleep, my social skills, confidence, work, basically my entire life. But I just can't deactivate all my accounts because I would lose touch with a lot of people, and that had 4,773 likes. I think this is a broader problem that we're aware of because we're all chasing that dopamine fix. And unfortunately, the closest that we have are these mobile phones in our hands. And these social media platforms are created and developed to harvest our attention. They really just draw you in, they suck you in, and they keep you scrolling. And of course, that is a problem because it does affect our emotional state. First thing we need to do is limit the amount of screen time. And I know that's incredibly easier said than done. But when you start your day, you cannot allow yourself to go onto your phone first thing in bed. And I was guilty of this for a long time. But picture this, you're accessing your phone and you're opening up your bedroom to hundreds, if not thousands of people coming in, all that noise and all that distraction so early. And starting your day on that note is just nurturing your brain to crave that dopamine over and over and over. Now, obviously, and I repeat, that is easier said than done, but you have to limit the amount of time that you spend on your phone. And that includes when you're going out for a walk, when you're going to the toilet. Start a small habit where you leave your phone outside of the bathroom. One, you're going to go to the toilet a lot quicker. And two, you're just going to get into the regular routine of not scrolling and not being dependent on your phone. Put your phone on loud, set it on the other side of the room, go on about doing your other chores and activities. And in case of emergency, at least you're going to hear your phone, but you don't need to have that constant distraction of those notifications coming through. This is something that you're going to have to actively chip away at, but you need to address it and you need to take those daily small steps in order to implement it. So on to the next comment, and this is one that came through repeatedly and it may have been phrased a little bit different, but it comes down to the same topic. And it says, as I start to approach the deeper end of my last year in high school, I feel so rushed. I already have so many things to apply for to set myself up for college, career and stuff. But I also need to figure out what I exactly want to do in the career field. I always wanted to pursue, I don't feel ready yet, and I feel like I'm growing up too quickly. So one of the problems I observed, and I actually said this when I was a lot younger, I remember being around 16 and I had to decide on the first subjects that would ultimately decide and determine what I'll be able to study when I go to university and college. Our brains are still developing and we have to make these potentially life-altering decisions at a young age. And what often happens is our parents end up deciding for us what they feel we should study, or we end up choosing careers that won't necessarily bring us fulfillment and satisfaction or make us happy, but we choose them based on what is going to pay us the most. I mean, I dreaded what I did for so many years, but eventually I reinvented myself. I chose a new career path, and thank God, I am so happy now in what I do. Now I understand it's not realistic in me saying that. It might be impossible if I say go and do what makes you happy, because all of us want to do cool things. A lot of youngsters, if you ask them, they want to be the next Messi, they want to be the next Ronaldo, they want to be a professional soccer player. Is that realistic? How many professional soccer players are there in the world? I'm not saying don't aim to be the next Messi or the next Ronaldo. Work towards that every single day. But in your pursuit to do so, there's so many surrounding careers within that field that will bring you closer to the industry that you're passionate about. If you're passionate about soccer, you can still coach soccer. You can still do physiotherapy. There's so many different careers and job opportunities that are aligned to the industry and what you're passionate about that is still going to bring you immense job fulfillment. Will you earn less money than being a lawyer or a chartered accountant? Yes. But will you gain in terms of happiness and fulfillment? Most certainly. I know so many people that go for these high-end careers and they absolutely dread it. They dread going to work. And in my later years, I've come to appreciate and I've come to understand the value in terms of doing something that you enjoy. Let me give you an example of a real-life scenario that I went through. I've always been into fitness. And where I come from and the smaller country that I was in, there wasn't many opportunities unless you potentially owned a gym, which required a lot of capital, or you worked as a personal trainer, but it was pretty much limited to that. So my options were pretty limited, but in terms of the career that I was working, it was actually selected and chosen by my father. He was working in cellular and he set me up to be a cellular technician. I studied correspondence through high school. I left, I ended up going to work for him. Something that's very important, I mentioned this here, going back to my passion about bodybuilding, I managed to pursue that in the evenings. So I didn't disregard totally my interest and my passion. I'd spend my day and apply myself fully at work, and I would go home and I would go to the gym and I would make the most of that. So still actively pursue your passion, and when the time and opportunity permits, don't get comfortable, don't get complacent, and this is the absolute best advice that I can give you. Be on the relentless pursuit to do something that makes you happy. And even when it comes to work, or when it comes to owning or operating a business, you're far more likely to succeed when you're doing something that you love, and you're doing it with the right intentions, and you're doing it with passion and enthusiasm. So on to the next comment, and excuse my setup because we're moving into a gym that's not yet ready, but this person says, over infatuated with the idea that nice things like cars, clothes, etc. will fulfill me because it's all I see on Instagram and the people I follow. Of course, it's great to try and work hard for that stuff, and you can absolutely make your dream come true and get the dream car, which I will do, but I fear it's over-consuming. This is absolutely such a fantastic subject because we live in an environment where we're so consumed by what we see on social media. I have personal experience with this, and I want to tell you a little story. When I was starting my career, I worked with a client and he stayed in this mansion of a house. It was a little bit intimidating, it was very overwhelming, the amount of money that he had. But every single time that I went there, I was so motivated, I was so driven that I left there and I went straight home and I started working on my plans so that I could find myself in that same position. Then I took one of my technicians with me because we went for a meeting. And I was so excited for him to see this place. I was so excited for him to leave with that same drive that I left with. And so we had the meeting and we went to this castle of a home and we left. And as soon as we left, I said to him, so what do you think? I'm all excited. And he said, I hated it. I hated being there. I hated having that money just rubbed into my face and things that I will never achieve. That's when I realized the difference in terms of personalities and what we can actually gain and what value we can get from our circumstances and a situation. The same thing that drove and motivated me was demotivating to him. So a lot of you may not know, but I own a McLaren. And I haven't posted this a lot, maybe 2 or 3 times on my social media pages. And the reason why I don't post that is I just don't like flexing. I don't see the value in terms of showing these things. I'm not selling courses. I don't need to impress you guys with what I've done or accomplished financially. There's more value in the words that I leave you with, such as the message in this. But I'm going somewhere with this, so bear with me. When I set out to buy the car, I could have afforded to get the car a couple of months prior, but I didn't. I set a goal for myself. And I've had this mindset my entire life that you need to set these incremental goals and you need to work towards something and you need to accomplish something, and then you need to reward yourself for that. And it makes it so much more fulfilling when you do that. The day that I got the McLaren and I went out for the first drive home, I broke down in tears. It was a little bit overwhelming, I have to tell you. Yes, it might have been the sound of the exhaust and the whole exhilarating experience. I still get goosebumps thinking of it. But it was the moment of realization that I managed to accomplish something that I set up. And sometimes we do need these materialistic things just to make us aware of where we are and what we have accomplished. But it comes down to gratitude and acknowledgement of what we've done in order to put ourselves in a situation to afford these things, rather than actually owning these materialistic objects. When you go down and you value yourself on materialistic objects. Now, I don't want to get too philosophical here. Sorry guys, my mic cut off, so I just have to film the last segment there, but don't value yourself based off materialistic things. Aim for those things. I'm not saying don't work towards it, but don't value yourself on that. Value yourself on the process, the journey, and the goals that you set and accomplish as a result of obtaining those materialistic objects. So on to the next comment, and this one says, I'm barely going to graduate next year, Father. Any tips on how to go on about life and how to not make mistakes? Let me give you guys a real life case scenario. There's someone that works with me. His name is Tyler. Hey, Tyler. And Tyler came to me, he had a business idea, but he was so afraid of fucking up, he was so afraid of making mistakes that would ultimately end up costing him either reputation, respect from his family, or financially. And I said to him, I said, you know what, Tyler, if ever there was a time for you to fuck up and make mistakes, it's now. You're 19 years old, you live with your family, you have your family to fall back on, you have your family to support you. You're young, take advantage of the fact you don't have a wife, you don't have a mortgage that you have to pay, you don't have children. Now is the time that you need to fuck up. Because in 10, 20 years time, when you have those other responsibilities, you're not gonna have the thought and you're not gonna have the appetite to take those same chances, to take those same risks. So please guys, I encourage you, go out and fuck up. I have. As long as we learn from our mistakes, as long as we gain from our mistakes, then there's no harm in making those mistakes. Simply do not repeat them. On to the next comment, and this one says, broke and nobody will hire me. Now, first of all, I am sympathetic to your situation, but I have to say, very respectfully, too many people take up this victim mindset of, oh, poor me, and they allow themselves to dwell in that and pity and feel sorry for themselves. Let me tell you, there's no value in that. What you need to do is break that mindset totally and go out and learn yourself a skill set. Why would someone want to hire you? Why would someone want to promote you? And that's if you bear a skill set, and that's if you have experience. Now, guaranteed, you have time in your day. There's something called YouTube University. Maybe I've just deemed it that, but education and knowledge is so much more accessible than what it was. Previously, I had to go through the process of going to academies and going to universities and colleges. All of this information is available to us at our fingertips. And it's never been easier, and it's never been more cost effective, and it's never been more convenient. My editor that puts together these incredible videos, here's another real life example, is self-taught, and every single thing that he's learned was through YouTube. When it comes to photo editing, when it comes to filming, when it comes to using his camera and his lenses and what lenses and how to edit, and all of that is entirely single-handedly learned through YouTube. I did the same thing when I was employed by one of my companies. I had little to no knowledge of computer programming. I went online, I researched and I studied, and I upskilled myself as much as possible in order to complement the job, the role, the position that I was in. If you have at least 1 hour a day, instead of doom scrolling on social media, go to YouTube, even TikTok, and search up a subject or a skill set where there are tutorials that you can sit and watch, and you're going to gain very, very valuable information that is going to benefit you. Yes, you're not going to get a qualification for that, but I know as someone who works in corporate, someone that owns a company, someone that hires people, there's far more value in experience and having a portfolio to show what you can do than someone who's simply just educated and gone to school and holds a degree. Instead of scrolling through and looking at some sort of drama and what's going on in the world that is just bringing you down or giving you that dopamine fix, go and learn a skill set, because even in doing that, you'll be surprised at how much dopamine you're gonna get from learning something and feeling so accomplished. Try it, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. All right, guys, so that's the video, at least part one, because there was thousands of comments, but I am going to be making more videos to address a lot more of the comments. So please keep them coming through, even on this video when it does get published. Keep them coming through. It might not be in the same format, in the same setting, but what I want to do, in the direction that I want to go with my channel, the direction that I want to go in my pages, is really just helping you evolve as a man. I want to be there to support you. I want to be able to provide as much value to you, because genuinely, at the end of the day, that's what I believe is my purpose. There's an old saying in South Africa, I've paid my school fees. So allow me to guide you and allow me to help you. I love and appreciate you guys. I hope, as always, there's some value that you've gained from this, and I'll see you in the next video.